You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Take it away, feeling too good to me. Chilling all day, all in your space is where I wanna be. Here in this room, what did you do? I just can't get enough. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like, oh yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone, yeah, you're the reason I'm going out my mind. I just can't stop thinking about you.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 3, season 17 of the podcast. In this episode, we're giving, yours truly, Nathan, is giving his observations of the Maryland women's basketball team through the first 3 games. But before we get into that, there's a few things I'd like to say up front. You will see all these 3 episodes up tomorrow. We're also previewing Maryland versus Syracuse. So be tuned. You will see a small preview within tomorrow. I'm going to try to tie that in with Maryland basketball's recap as we talk about Maryland's men losing tonight as well. So be tuned in for that preview for Maryland versus Syracuse. Before we get into that, let me just once again, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Maryland women's basketball team, especially Rose DePaula, for giving me the opportunity to cover this team for this second season in a row. It has been an interesting journey so far. I'm still mad at myself because I missed media day, and I had everything, I had all the questions, all the players, everything, and then I'm like, what? Today was media day? And I'm big. So thank you to the Maryland Terrapins for giving me the opportunity to cover the team. You can follow my work on MarylandSportsBlog.com. Again, thank you, Brian, for giving me the opportunity to write for a great website. You could also find others who cover the Baltimore Ravens, the Baltimore Orioles, Wizards. We do everything there at MarylandSportsBlog.com. Please check us out. For this team this year, for the most part, I'm not concerned. I know coming into this season, this team was going to look different, makeup of it. Diamond Miller was drafted by the Minnesota Lynx. Abby Myers was drafted by the Dallas Wings. Then you lost Alyssa Pizan. You lost 3 out of your 4 freshmen to the transfer portal. And you didn't have depth. You didn't have Ali Kubek last year due to injury. You didn't have Emma last year due to injury. So you were kind of had to work with less. And now when I come into this season, I think this team on paper, I think can surprise some. Now I do have some questions to the makeup of this team. And as we progress into the episode, because how I'm doing, I'm just looking about the last 3 games so far into the season. I do have questions. I think this is arguably Brenda's best recruiting class. I think she has depth. I think there's more she could work with compared to last season. You have super seniors. You have Faith, Lav, Renee, and then Shakir Brown Turner coming home for one more year, and then led by Cheyenne Sellers. You're getting Ali Kubak back from injury. Emma is coming back off injury, and then you have Emily Fisher, Riley Nelson, Hawa, Bree McDaniel, Summer Bostic. There is loads of potential, and I think this team will be fine. Let's start off with our opening win, and that was against Harvard. Now, we were ranked 14th. I thought 14th was fair. I had no issue with that, and we did a lot of things well coming into this season. So I think we're looking to build off a run from the Elite Eight. We won 98-75. We didn't look back on that game. When I look back at the tape, there's a couple of things I took in consideration. I still think from looking at the tape, I think offensively, I see the potential where this team can be. That starts with Cheyenne Sellers. She didn't look back at all. She finished that night with 25 points. She was 7-11 from the field. I thought the ball movement was spectacular. They were very unselfish. I thought the perimeter, especially on the perimeter, they looked good. The driving kick, corner threes, had 23 assists. And now for the last 5 seasons, we're 84-5 when we score 80 or more points. And from we had the big lead, we didn't look back. To me, offensively, I think the key is this offense. I think we're going to rely more on our depth. And 10 players saw the floor in the first quarter. We had 4 of our girls in double figures, including Emma Chardon, who had 10 points in 15 minutes off the bench. Last year, they ranked about 17 assists. That was 5th in the Big Ten. Had 23 dime pieces. For me, the biggest issue, but again, in fairness, you're dealing with people eased back into the rotation. The biggest elephant in the room last year, especially when you lose Angel Reese, Mimi Collins, Chloe Bibby, and a couple other players, the year before going into last season, there was a lack of post interior size. And I really can't defend the fact that against a Harvard team, we were out rebounded defensively by 10 rebounds.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
I suppose and I surmise that when looking back at the tape, they had more opportunities for offensive rebounds because Harvard can shoot the lights out the basketball. And I think trying to keep them relatively court. We got to do a better job. There's no way we should allow them to have 25 offensive rebounds. That can't happen. I thought we lacked in boxing out. There was clear instances of that. And then again, like Emma and especially Allie. Allie's coming off an ACL injury. She has to be eased into the lineup. They had, and especially the season, and both. And I think there's flashes. They had 5 rebounds in that game. But I think we know what we have to do. And as the season progressed. Now, that was my biggest takeaways. I thought just as the first game, I still think allowing 75 points, we could have did better than that. But we were 2 points away from 100. So it was a good win. It's a good way to start off the season. Like I said, when I look back at the film, there were definitely positives, and there's some things I think as progresses and as you're following along that you will see. Even after we recap these weekends, going into Sunday against Syracuse, there are things that I think will get better. in my personal opinion. Then painfully, we lost to South Carolina, and we just didn't look back, and it was pretty bad. The final score was 114-76.
What was that? What the hell was that? I'm sorry the H words and the D words aren't appropriate over the airways, but it's going to be today. I don't know how much more of this I can take. How in God's name?
Coming into this game, I think the key was the sizing up matchup. I thought both teams kind of had the size and just looked different. I mean, I felt like we could could match up with, in particular in the offensive rebounds, where that was questioned against South Carolina. And painfully, looking back at the film, we were those questions definitely were not answered, and we were out rebounded by 20. South Carolina had 28 second chance points and then 19 offensive rebounds. And then you had 4 Gamecocks and double-digit points. And they had 56 points in the paint. Our leading scorer was Cheyenne Sellers, 8 rebounds, but it just wasn't enough at all. We struggled from downtown. And South Carolina, they just shot the ball. We had 10 threes. We were on 45% compared. They made 2 more threes, which made it 50. I also thought their press defense hurt us too. Their depth, I thought the key looking back in the film was the second quarter. They just wore us out. And this is again flashes of last year where we just come out too aggressive and then we're just winded. I really think there has to be a little bit more better of slowing down the pace. They just capitalized off our mistakes. Now, Dawn Staley, if I remember correctly, in her presser, she was not pleased that they gave up 75 points. I think that's a record that I think because in most of her teams, she's never allowed 75 points. I may be saying that wrong, but I know she was not pleased with defensively giving up 75 points. I thought the game was really over after the second quarter. There really wasn't much to say other than the game was the fourth quarter. I mean, the ship was listing on starboard and port side, and when they won the 12-0 run, I agree with what Coach Free said. It definitely was a growing moment for us, and I think playing these games early, I know that's kind of what fans want to see, but again, it's the second game of the season. There are things you can clean up. There's things I liked and there were things I didn't like. Shai said she was feeling she was good. She had an injury. She kind of hobbled off, but she said she was fine in post presser. There was some turnovers that I didn't like, and particularly from Shai, there was a couple where she had 5 already in the first 2 quarters and had 6. My standout in that one, honestly, was Bree McDaniel. She had 10 of their 19 bench points. She had 2 big threes. And she's been doing really well. There's been times where, she's been asked to give energy defensively, and she's been playing well. I will also say that stood out to me is the shot selection. And let me take it back. I'm not really understanding this offense in terms of who the play is for in terms of scoring. I'm seeing the ball way too many times in the hands of Shai or Jakia Brown-Turner. I would like to see everybody get touches on the ball equally, respectfully. Like Brene Alexander, for example. She should be taking at least 15 shots. Lavender Briggs, we got to give her at least 12 to 15 shots. Faith, we got to give her at least 10 to 14 shots. I mean, you gotta open up the floor. And again, that was really hard to, when I look back at the tape. Those really weren't the issues. I mean, for me, my notes looking back at the film, physicality and rebounding. I mean, we just that's what stood out to me. Um, you 9 fouls just in the first half, and especially when you're giving Chloe Kitts opportunities at the free throw line. I mean, and in fairness, and I agree with Coach Freeze's assessment. The first 4 minutes coming out the locker room was good, but when you make one mistake, that leads to others, and that's where we got to grow. If it's, and again, offensively, this is my point. We became very one dimensional. There's a lack of ball movement, and now it's easier to defend. Like, instead of where we need to attack the paint, get to the free throw line, we're solely relying on mid-range and three-point shots. And I think, for me, when you're out rebounded 5-1 and they scored 17 of their 25 points, there's just discipline. That's just a lack of discipline, and some of that is on coaching a little bit, and then some of that's also too, like, I think a couple of times you could have made some adjustments. We were out. We lost by 20. We were out rebounded by 20 rebounds. Where you had Cheyenne Tellers had led the team in rebounds, and we got to be better in that. Like I said, outside of Bree McDaniel, looking back at the tape, respectfully, I couldn't find anybody else. And again, I understand. When I say that, I'm looking at what's on the bench. Allie is slowly being eased back into the lineup. And then we're expediting growth of Riley and Emily Fisher. And then again, Hawa got in there and gave me some minutes, and I'm not mad at that. But I needed a little bit more. Their bench, South Carolina, they played well. They had 7 players hitting double figures. So I mean, their depth just really by the second quarter, that was just the key. And as I was watching that film and thinking, okay, going against UConn, they should have it packed down. I think they're ready. This is you're coming off a loss. UConn's coming off a loss to NC State. We're motivated. We got this. We're ready for it. And then painfully, Thursday night, we lost 80-48.
I mean, damn!
Well, we went down a few spots in the rankings. We went down to 20, and that stung. And then going against number 8 UConn, looking back at the film. The reason why I say I look back at the film, let me explain what I mean by that. I learned this from now former head coach Mike Tebow, general manager of the Washington Mystics. It's hard for me to, and this is not for me, and I understand why. It's hard to give an assessment, true assessment, after a game when there's too much emotion. Like, I needed a day to just go back and say, okay, with a fresh pair of eyes, let me see what went wrong. I mean, I'm literally taking notes. I'm looking at, okay, maybe this lineup didn't work. That lineup could have worked. Why did we not box on this play? This one should have been a pick and pop. This should have been a 3. You should have looked over to your left, got an open player in the wing. Different things like that. That's why when I'm going back and look at the film, it's easy for me to, especially after a game, to go on a Twitter space or YouTube and say, damn, like, what the hell was that? Like, I think there's just too much emotion after games, and I'm learning to just give more of a deeper perspective when I'm actually more calmer and when I'm looking back at the game. Because I was fuming after we lost UConn. I'm sitting here thinking, like, we should have beat them. We should, the game, if not beating them, game should have been closer. And AC Flood did not play in this game due to injury. She suffered in practice earlier this week. And our paint defense was just, they just attacked that. Painfully, we gave up 27 turnovers. And again, this is a team that is still a working progress. I'm not panicking. I think this is stuff you can easily clean up and be better at easily. When you look at this same team, UConn, they capitalized on the performances of Nika Mule and Paige Beckers. When I looked back at the film, Maryland as a cohesive unit, our offense looked rushed. We looked lackadaisical on things instead of, we're opting for wild shots. It doesn't matter if it's mid-range shots or it was threes. Especially we're not going into the shot clock. And, there was a lack of ball movement. My key, that especially the first 5 minutes of play, we turned over the ball 4 times. UConn defensively, they shut us down trying to penetrate the lane. And that hurt us effectively, our driving kick. Now, especially that made it hard for Cheyenne Sellers, who was our point guard, to start the orchestra, get it going. Because especially I thought it was a much needed 3-pointer going in with Shy, because every 3 out of 10 from the field and 4 block shots, they were just mired in inconsistencies. We made adjustments, especially Shy was cutting to the basket, but again, the adjustments that opened up more perimeter shots, and it's just it just hurt because it's just like all the momentum, especially when Paige went down with the injury. She was called for a foul. All the momentum went towards them. They went in halftime on a 20-4 run. 11 points, 2 crew, and then had 2 steals. Shy Sellers before going into halftime. She had 3 fouls, and I appreciate Shy for saying, hey, I can't have 8 turnovers. That's a player that takes accountability. I respect that. Coming into halftime when you're down 42-27 and shooting 26%, you would hope that there would definitely been some adjustments. And unfortunately I didn't see that, and that's sad. And it was disappointing. Let me use that word instead of sad. It just screamed South Carolina all over again. We looked, especially in transition. We tried game momentum. It slowly happened in the third quarter, but it was immensely just bad. We were 2 of 14, just 9 points. That's the lowest so far in the 3 games. I disagreed with Coach Freeze's assessment when she said along the lines, we've got to find, some additional players that are able to help us score the basketball. But give UConn credit in how they defended us. But the reason why I disagree with that, because you have scores. The biggest issue that I took away is there are times where I'm seeing example. Excuse me. Drink some water. There are examples. I'm seeing like Brene Alexander in the corner, right? Open. Like they're trapping. There's no ball movement. Like you have Lavender Briggs, you have Brene, Faith. They're capable scorers. Like I saw Jakia and Shy respectfully. I saw them trying to do too much with the ball. Like and then especially for me, like I understand not having a point guard and saying, "Hey, Shy, we need you to orchestrate the offense." We can make some adjustments to help her. Hey, let's run this play for Jakia. Let's run this play for laugh. Like we got to the offense, the ball has to be kind of spread out more. Like there's no excuse when I'm looking at the box score. Like Jakia and Shai took 30 shots. Like Brene should have more than 6 shots. We should give her at least 15 shots. Lavender should have at least 15, 17 shots. Faith should have at least 10 to 12 shots. And again, it's putting them in situations where here's the ball, do something with it. I wasn't feeling that. And again, and in fairness, it does that their defense did dictate our offense. But I mean, the chemistry, I could really see that there's still, again, it's 3 games to the season. I'm not worried. These girls will be fine. I don't understand why we're so quick to just throw the pain towel. Like I said, when I look back at the film, there are things that I'm disappointed in, but I know what these girls are capable of doing. Everyone last year had questions about this team, and guess what? They got to the Elite Eight. This team, give them time. You got to give them time to gel. Like it's not just easy to just throw. Like example, right? Look at LSU. Opening night, who did they lose to? Colorado. You have 5 All-Stars. Mesh, it takes time, chemistry. Like, sure, not having Diamond, not having Abby, that makes a difference. But you've got the same players. And then also too, like, hey, roles have changed a little bit. Like Brene, wasn't starting last year like that, coming off the bench. So was Lav. Let's give them time to gel. They can mesh. I mean, they're capable starters. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying give them time to mesh. Like, we talk about the assist-to-turnover ratio. Again, that will improve. And for me, UConn did a good job in trapping us within our offensive plays. They disrupted our rhythm. They forced us to take into contested shots. And I think they'll be fine. There are questions, and some of those questions are valid, but some of those questions I think are just, to me, a sense of panic. We're 3 games into the season. Like, we're expecting our freshmen to just come in. And last year, and I advocated for it, and I still believe they deserve opportunities. But again, there are things we still need to work on with our starters, which I believe they're capable of fixing. Like, I'm not going to put, respectfully, Emily Fisher or Riley Nelson out there right now, because if I put them out there, this is a learning opportunity for them. And as the season progresses, they'll get out there. And especially, again, Hawa, I believe will get in there, but she's ahead of her is Allie and Emma. But I believe she'll get time. I think to sit here and act like, oh, she'll transfer and all this other stuff, like, no, like, stop. Like let's calm down. But for me, those are my takeaways for so far in the game, the loss against UConn. We need to be better with our shot selection. Even though we lost by 30 points, we did shoot the ball well. That's something I can take away positively from the South Carolina game. Especially where it made 40% of their shots and went 45% from the 3-point range. That is something positively I could take away from the UConn game. From the South Carolina game, excuse me. When I watched them play UConn last night, that's a different story. I mean, their defense just forced us. It didn't look like Maryland basketball, and that shows. And then again, like I said, by the second half, we were out of gas. And I think as the season progressed, when Brenda made the comment, we got to find some additional players. You have it. You just got to figure out how to get the ball in their hands, and especially taking advantage of the shot clock. We shouldn't be forcing shots early in the shot clock. I just didn't like that. I think Jakia Brown Turner will be immensely impactful for us. I still think her role is still growing, but I think she's definitely the second best player. Because for me, coming into the season was outside of Shai, who were your other options, and I still think Brene and Lav will be the answers to the Terps' success this year. There's this confidence. Even though it gets against UConn, she wasn't efficient, but she had a lot of confidence. She took 17 shots. That's the high so far for the season. And she's also been a big, again, looking back at the tape, very positive of her on the boards. She's had 5 rebounds in the last 2 games, and she led the way with 7. So there's some positives, but I think she has shown that she's definitely going to be an important piece for this team as it goes. But again, you can't have this, especially going into later part of the schedule, where you got especially after halftime, a collapse like that occurred last night. That can't happen. But I know that they'll get it together, and they got to get it right against Syracuse, and I believe they're going to win that game. We'll preview that game tomorrow. Like I said, UConn respectfully had more depth and a little bit more talent experience on their roster, where this team is not the same team compared to last year. You have returning players, and then you look at the majority of your bench. 2 players returning from injury, freshmen, and then Bree McDaniel, who's a sophomore. But see, experience. You know what I'm saying? Like putting Hawaii out there, for example, that's given her experience, but I don't know. I just see it differently. I believe give it time and they'll be out there. But look, 3 games of the season. I'm not panicking. They're 1 and 2. They'll be just fine. But those are my things when I looked at the game. And it was hard to look back at the film. I finished it earlier this afternoon. And I thought what I saw was fair. And I would hope that it would be agreed upon. But yeah, it was a disappointing loss for sure. Because when I literally was fuming and I literally wanted to cry in my truck, but I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. Yeah, but other than that's what happened. And hey, just go through film, see what went right, what went wrong, and just take it from there. And yeah, that's how I feel. That's my 3-game assessment so far. My observations. I'll have the observations up as well on MarylandSportsBlog.com, as I also have a preview article against Syracuse in Sunday's matchup. I also will be covering that, get live tweeting on Twitter via MarylandSportsBlog.com. So yeah, man, it's been a good start so far. But like I said, there's some things that we'll easily adjust and fix. Now for the men's side, that's a different story. I'm not gonna get started with that because I don't have energy for it, and they already pissed me off tonight losing. So let's get into the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, and that is Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? You can and you will with Zagnif
The
Apparel.
following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
You can and you will with a nice 15% off using my discount code BIGNATE for 15% off your final purchase on Zagnif Apparel. Zagnif Apparel, thank you for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back after this break. Let's get into the last segment of Big Nate Sports Talk podcast, and that is one final thought.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
Again, I would just like to emphasize my great deal of gratitude to the Maryland women's basketball team for allowing me to another season of covering them. It's been so far fun. I do plan on getting out there and covering some games in person. I also am trying to set up some interviews with some players and coaches. Stay tuned. But yeah, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And again, you know, this is fun. I ain't gonna lie, there's some good days and some bad days with it. But I think that's the part of doing something like this that you love. So again, I'm grateful for the opportunity once again to cover them. Last year was fun. I think this year I think this Maryland team is going to do some special things together, and I'm glad to be a part of this season again. And again, I'm still mad at myself that I missed media day 3 weeks ago, but I know I'll see them in person. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. You'll see episodes 4 and 5 with the men's side. We're going to do a small preview for Maryland women's basketball against Syracuse as they get ready for Sunday. Follow me on Twitter at @NathanSnell. You can also follow my work on MarylandSportsBlog.com. You can also follow us on Twitter there at MarylandSportsBlog.com. I do have an announcement. I'll announce that around Christmas. Not actually after Thanksgiving, excuse me. Sorry, already thinking ahead. I have an announcement as far as that. I'm in the process of rearranging something that I think will take Big Nate Sports Talk to the next level, in my opinion. So, yes, with that being said, be tuned in for future episodes. Like I said, be tuned in for the Washington Commanders recap, the loss of Seattle, and get ready for this week. And then talking about Maryland's men's basketball. Like I said, Ravens on the mini bye week. We'll recap Maryland football, whatever happens with that, and also to Maryland women's basketball team. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please like, comment, and subscribe to all future content. Thank you so much for the support you've given me in this channel. With that being said, have a good night. Have a good weekend. Do something fun. Stay safe. And Thanksgiving is almost here.
But they don't know, they don't know, they don't know. Nobody knows but us how we roll, how we roll. Nobody knows what we got but us, but us. Let them keep talking, let them believe that they know, 'cause they don't, no they don't, no they don't. Let them believe that they know, 'cause they don't, no they don't, no they don't. Let them keep talking, they don't, they don't, how we roll. Let them keep talking, they don't, how we roll.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you do.